my cluttered space used to feel much heavier. It seemed like every step I took, I would stumble on something to add on my to-do list. Keeping it tidy used to be so daunting, especially with 2 little ones, until I realized I can simply let go. Here are 10 habits and little rules that helped me simplify my home, and it might just help you do the same too. The 5-7 rule. I use this rule to determine what I keep out on my kitchen counters. If it's an item that I use 5 days out of 7, then that warrants a place on my counters. The things that pass that test for me are coffee machine, kettle, toaster. Anything else? I had to double check. I've also got the spatulas and cutting boards there. Those are things that I use pretty much on a daily basis. So those stay on the counter so I have easy access to them. Anything else can be packed away in my cupboards. And since I have decluttered a lot of my cupboards, I actually have quite a lot of space in there to put things, even though my kitchen is not necessarily massive. But I can keep the bread in a bin in there. It doesn't need to be out on my counters. My blender, mixer, appliance can go in the cupboards as well. I don't need that out all the time. And clearing out your counters might not seem like a big deal, but it does 2 things. One, it's so much easier to clean because the surface is just quite clear, so giving it a quick wipe is so easy. You don't have to move 100 items out of the way before you can give it a wipe at the end of the day. Or if you spill something, you don't have to clean a whole bunch of items. And number 2, it gives me a lot more workspace when I'm cooking, which I really appreciate. The broken window effect. There's this theory in criminology that's called the broken window theory. This was coined back in 1982, and it's a metaphorical theory that says if there are visible signs of crime, such as a broken window in an abandoned building, that broken window will lead to more broken windows. So it will lead to more antisocial behavior. If you've got this neglected environment, there's a broken window and nobody fixes it or addresses it straight away, it gives the impression that no one cares, and so this will lead to more of that antisocial behavior and obviously more problems down the road. Now, what does this have to do with decluttering? Well, keeping a simplified home is very much like this. Once a surface gets cluttered, if it's not addressed, if we don't tidy it up that day, then it's simply going to attract more clutter onto it, because it gives this impression to everybody in the household that, you know, it's okay, the surface is cluttered anyway, it doesn't really matter if I put one extra thing on top of there. And that's how you end up with piles and piles of stuff that accumulate, and addressing it straight away, trying to keep that surface tidy as you go along, is actually going to help you down the line. This is a good theory that I like to keep in mind because it's really true what they say, that clutter attracts clutter. So the more you have, the more likely you are to accumulate more on that surface or in that area of your home. Decluttering consistently. I used to think that if I could just get this big declutter done, then I wouldn't really have to do it again. But the truth is, decluttering is something that we need to do constantly. And this is not to discourage you or to say that decluttering doesn't work. It absolutely does. But the thing is, we need to go in it with the mindset that yes, we are going to do this, bigger declutter in the beginning, but it is something that needs to become a habit and something that we do consistently in our homes to keep them, to maintain that clutter-free space. Because the truth is, we do bring a lot of things into our homes every single week. Kids bring artwork from school, we bring clothes from the shop, we get boxes from parcels we ordered. There's always going to be stuff coming in, it's inevitable. But we also need to be mindful about getting some of that stuff out of our house. And the one thing I will say is that decluttering becomes so much easier once you get past that point of, okay, my house is not cluttered anymore, it's in a good state. Now all I need to do is just do little declutters here and there throughout the day to keep it like this. So yeah, decluttering is something we do need to incorporate into our routine though. Be present in your current season of life. This is something that took me quite a while to get a grasp on, because I absolutely used to hang on to items that either didn't fit my lifestyle anymore, I didn't really use anymore, they were from past hobbies I wasn't really interested in anymore, they were clothes that wouldn't fit me anymore because maybe they were before children, they just didn't really fit with where I am in my life right now. But I did hang on to them for the longest time, because sometimes you want to hang on to that thing from the past. And in order to move forward with my decluttering process and achieve this calm space and easy to tidy home that I really love now, I did have to learn to embrace more of my present life, who I am right now and what fits me in my current season as a mom to 2 young children, and let go of this idea of what future me or this fantasy me might want to wear one day. Keep what you truly need and value. I'm I'm absolutely not saying you need to simplify from your home the things that you actually enjoy using, the things that bring value to your life, the things that make your life easier. It's just about finding that right balance between what I love and need and what brings convenience to my life. Because sometimes we can go from one end of the spectrum to another and get rid of too much to the point where it feels like we're just making our lives harder. But there is a balance that you will find through decluttering, because once you get rid of the items that you don't really need, you're more intentional about what truly brings value to your life, what you actually use on a daily basis, what makes you smile when you walk into a room. Once you find that baseline of items that you actually want and need, then you can get rid of the rest and enjoy a simplified home. It's not about getting rid of that extra blender if that actually makes your life more convenient, if that actually helps your day run smoother. It's just about finding what works for you. Simplify your laundry routine. One thing that actually helps with your laundry routine is to declutter your clothes. Having less clothes actually makes laundry easier because you're not going to accumulate piles of clothes everywhere. Laundry that needs to be done, laundry that needs to be put away, that needs to be folded, that needs to be dried. Reducing your inventory actually makes this process so much easier. One thing I've incorporated into my laundry routine is doing one load a day, pretty much every day, kind of depends, but for the most part it's an everyday kind of thing. Every morning we actually set up the washing machine to go in the night, so it starts at about 5 a.m. and it goes up until 6 or 7 a.m. For some washing machines you can actually schedule it in advance, so we do that at night, we put it on, it goes on in the morning, and then by the time we wake up the laundry is already done. I just need to put it to dry, which I hang dry, and then towards the end of the day it's usually quite dry, so we can put it back in the wardrobe. And doing this system of laundry every day and doing one load from start to finish, it's actually so helpful because we never have piles around. And this is not to brag, my house is not perfect by any means, but this is something that it actually makes it run so much smoother. Have a wish list. This is such a simple one. I've shared this before. I started doing this with my kids, right? So I did it with my son, who's 6 years old. Whenever he wanted something from the shop, well, we didn't necessarily want to buy toys that day, or we were just going for a food shop. And you know how they always ask for things, don't they? It's just what kids do. We started the wish list thing, which a friend of mine recommended. What we do is we take a picture of the toy that he wants in the shop and we put it in a folder on my phone that's called his wish list. So he knows he will leave the shop with that picture on my phone. So even if we don't buy that toy on that particular day, he still has a bit of that toy that we're taking with us in the form of that picture. It really helps curb that impulse buying and giving in for every little thing that they want to buy in the shop, because that can accumulate so much. I'm not saying you should never buy toys for your kids, of course not. We still buy toys, but it's just about being more intentional about it and maybe not doing it every single time I go to Tesco. And it actually worked really, really well for him. And what ended up happening is I started using that wish list system myself. So whenever I want to buy a piece of clothing, whatever it might be, I will put it on a wish list on my phone. Now, I don't necessarily take a picture. Sometimes I do if I'm in the shop, but either I take a picture or I just write it on a list in the notes app on my phone. And then it just kind of gives me a bit of cooling off period. So I can see in like a few days or a week or however long I want to, I can see if I actually still want that item or if it was just like an impulse, you know, emotional thing when I was in the shop. If I really, really want that 2 weeks from now, then that's probably an item I can actually get value out of. The 2-minute rule. This is such a simple habit and rule that we can follow. If you have this task in front of you that takes less than 2 minutes to accomplish, do it right then and there. Don't leave it for later. This actually makes us have less of a mountain of tasks that we need to do because we do them throughout the day. When I see, you know, some rubbish around the living room and I'm going in the kitchen anyway, I'll just quickly grab it and put it in the bin. If I see some plates here or some mugs, I will take them to the dishwasher when I go that way. If I get a birthday invite, I try my best to reply straight away, put it in my calendar quick, and that's it. It's something that doesn't take that long, but the more of these little things we let pile on, the more it feels like this daunting mountain to climb. So doing these little 2-minute tasks throughout the day helps so much. The 1 in, 1 out. This is one of my favorite rules, and this is not something I apply necessarily for every single item that I buy or every single item that comes into my home, but it's something I can incorporate for things like clothes, sometimes toys. Sometimes if it's something that I don't actually have a lot of space for, I will have to get rid of an old item to put the new one in. And yeah, for clothes it works perfectly. If I buy a new jacket, can I let go of an old jacket? If I'm buying a new jumper, can I let go of an old jumper I don't really wear anymore? Because if I'm buying, it's probably because I have a need that my other item wasn't fulfilling. And yeah, most of the time I can find things to let go, and this rule helps not to have things pile up, because if I'm bringing stuff in and also bringing stuff out, it just kind of balances out, and that means my home is not gonna get super cluttered again. Such a simple rule that works so well. Check before you buy. If you're doing a weekly food shop, then try to check your fridge, your cupboards, just have a quick look in there and see, do you actually need extra pasta or do you already have a bunch? I know I used to buy packets of pasta and then I would realize, wait, I actually already had that in my cupboard. That's how we get cupboards overflowing with items that we don't end up using, that we end up wasting. When I do my weekly food shop, I will pick 5 dinners to make that week, and I will first go through my cupboards and fridge to see if there's anything I can already use for a meal. Like, do I have some beans that I can use for a meal next week? Do I have some sausages that I haven't used this week that I can maybe make into a meal early next week? This way I'm using the things that I already have. I'm not piling on in my fridge or my cupboards. It's way less wasteful, and it's also better on your budget because you're going to save a lot of money by using the things that you already have. Yeah, creating a simplified home can be easier than we think. It's just those little habits that help a lot. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in my next one.